Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you so much for joining me here. Hope you're having a fantastic and amazing day. We're obviously taking a look at Bitcoin here and seeing what's going on. It's pretty exciting stuff to see the price action finally back on track. But again, is it really officially back on track? We do have some stuff coming up tomorrow with some fundamentals, of course, and we want to understand kind of what this looks like and what could happen. And what we want to also look at is traditional markets and kind of see what in the heck is going on there, because they jumped up and they dropped off right off a cliff here as soon as the price came up. So we want to see if that's going to sustain or not, and that will help us a lot with understanding where Bitcoin's going to go next. Again, today we got CPI data, shot the price up. Tomorrow, FOMC, what will that do for us? Okay, so again, we don't know generally what to expect, but statistically speaking, FOMC has had a stronger impact than CPI data. Coincidentally, they're also 2 days in a row here. So I think today is just the beginning. We'll see what happens tomorrow, but we'll look at some of the signs here and kind of help us go from there. Again, from a technical standpoint, these fundamental catalysts can really throw things off a little bit. But the good news is this is kind of reiterating some positive facts here, and we want to look at that as well. So if you're new to the channel, just keep in mind, I'm not a financial advisor. Love teaching people to trade. Hope you can learn something here today. If you want to become a better trader, go to cryptocash.tech and feel free to register to become essentially just part of my community. We have amazing traders there. We have some awesome profits that we've been taking here. Litecoin in 2 days, and nice, and I'm not upset by this, 15 days, 76% from Bitcoin. So again, doing really well, and same thing with my traders here too. I mean, look at this, 75% for a short on Matic. We've got 82% for a long on ETH. And of course, Compulse is taking it apart with here another 30% long for ETH with a 5x. So again, the hits keep coming in a positive way, and again, we all bound together and essentially help each other become better traders. So it's a really awesome collaborative environment. We're also using Bitget Exchange, if you're not familiar with those logos there. Best exchange in the world. In my personal opinion, I've used Bybit and of course also KuCoin, and Bitget's completely better. So please feel free to use the link in the description below if you want to be eligible for a $10,000 prize pool. Be happy to help you out with that. It's really straightforward though. It's really just based on profit and loss ratio and trading volume, and all you have to do is use my link in the description below to qualify. So taking a look here at Bitcoin, let's go ahead and kind of pivot and talk a little bit about traditional markets and then kind of go from there. So obviously dollar index is down. This is a standard thing where the price of the dollar goes down, and of course the market goes up as a result of that. Okay, so when that happens, we can see traditional coins like this are going to shoot up. Now we did see this here, and we want to probably take a look at a smaller time frame to identify. You can see almost instantly. In fact, we can even look at the 1 minute and just see how sharp this increase was. CPI data comes out, boom, instantly right there at 6:30 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, or 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, essentially. So we saw the price action jump up a total of, somewhere in the range of 3.5%. And that's huge. That's what caused Bitcoin to shoot up as well. If you take a look here, though, all those gains are wiped out almost completely, okay? So I'm not super happy or thrilled about this in the sense of a long position. Now, I'm happy that we hit some targets, of course, but generally speaking, with our short that we have open as a community, I think we're still going to be able to see those profit targets hit. And the main reason why is just because this is hard to sustain this type of price point here, obviously, and with the price action coming up and shooting right back down, this is never a great sign for a candle wick. Okay, again, trading day is still early. We're only about 2.5 hours into this trading day here, so it's not like it's a definitive situation, but this is not a positive overall for us, and that does translate into Bitcoin as well, because even though we have a nice candle here, there's also FOMC tomorrow, and just say inflation comes at the same basis points that we're expecting, we'll probably see it shoot up and shoot down in different ways. So just be really prepared for some volatility in the next 24 hours. So let's look at some standard stuff here and kind of work our way down. First of all, you can see this instant rejection here at 18,000. So 18,000 is essentially a strong resistance level. We can expect that to maintain itself until it's broken. Obviously, that's usually how resistance levels work, right? But generally speaking, the first attempt is difficult to break through there on the first attempt. Okay, which is why the price action is coming back down to potentially perform a type of handle pattern. Again, this is just a stretch by all means. I'm not saying the price is going to bounce off of 17,600, but it kind of already has in a way. Okay, so we can expect 17.6 to potentially be a support level here. Again, we want to wait for the candlestick to close here on the daily first and kind of see, because a lot of weird stuff can happen in post-market hours with traditional markets. So that could very well factor in. And then, of course, Eastern markets open up later in the evening for us here in the States. And, of course, we see the price action, shoot in a different direction as well. So it's still a little too early to tell. What we want to look at here is that we did break above 50 on the RSI, and that's typically a very positive sign. Okay, so again, that does reiterate that we should have a support level somewhere in the 17.5, 17.6 range, since it has had difficulty breaking that plane. Okay, so again, 17.6 is notoriously a very strong support and resistance level. So tentatively being above that is positive, but we haven't closed above yet. So don't get your hopes up too far, especially with tomorrow's FOMC. Okay. Jerome Powell has a tendency of just shooting the market in whatever direction based on how he speaks. All right. So again, just keep that in mind. Same thing here as well. We can see the MACD is picking up a little bit of momentum, so that's positive there in the sense for the upward momentum. So generally speaking, we are looking more bullish than bearish, of course, but how can you not with a candlestick this large, right? So from bottom to top here today, we've seen about 5.5% correction from Bitcoin. That's quite a lot considering, okay? Considering we got like a 4% pump for, traditional markets or, the NASDAQ, for example. All right, so that's kind of where we're at there. Oh, wait, one last thing to check. Let's take a look at the moving averages here. And we can kind of see the price getting rejected off the 50 as well. Okay, so just note that is a somewhat of a resistance level. It takes a while for it to break through. It's difficult for the price action to break through 50 on the RSI, 50 on the moving averages there, the 50-day SMA. It usually will try multiple times. We see this here, tried multiple times before it broke above. Obviously, FTX kind of screwed the whole thing up for us there, but generally speaking, we can see there's definitive difficulty getting through that level. So trying to get your hopes up too high, testing the 50-day SMA is one thing, but breaking through is another. And also sustaining above that is also the problem. So again, it takes a while. Once it comes above, it usually stays above, okay? So again, with us waking up and getting rejected there, that makes perfect sense. Looking at the 4 hour, we can kind of see here, we have some momentum here to the upside, and there's a good chance that we should see some kind of pullback in the next maybe 8 to 12, 8 to 16 hours, based on the fact that we're upwards of a 7, and we started here at a 1 here previously. So generally speaking, we're not overextended yet, but we're definitely getting there. You can see 70 on the RSI was broken. The likelihood of it coming back down is fairly high. It could also bounce too, don't get me wrong, which could imply that the new support is 17,600. But once again, we want to wait for the candlestick to close here today and see. I personally feel like we're going to see the price taper off back down again, but I hope not, just for the positive aspect of getting back on track. I don't think we're fully there yet, and I don't think the bottom is in the overall sense of things. So I feel like we're going to have a rough couple of years coming up, but generally speaking, this is a positive sign nonetheless. Okay, so I guess celebrate it, but make sure you take some profits if you have some profits right now. It's important to always, what is the term? A wise man once said, what is it? Something to the effect of taking profits. If you're never taking profits, you're never profitable, right? So again, how are you ever going to be successful as a trader if you just hold on forever? Right? It doesn't really make sense, especially in this market when the price action jumps around so much. So again, the likelihood of this sustaining itself is fairly low, in my opinion. I think we're going to see a pullback, but we'll see what the smaller time frames tell us. But regardless, this is fairly positive, just overextended. Taking a look at the moving averages, we're above all three, which is good. Yesterday when I reviewed this, we were kind of stuck in between. So at this point, it's a positive sign to be above the 200. It does imply that roughly 16,700 is a potential support level. We'll see what happens there. But as far as the overall sense here is concerned, it's mostly positive here on the 4 hour as well. But we are getting closer to the top, in my personal opinion. I don't think we're going to see the price action break 18,000 anytime soon. Taking a look at the 1 hour, let's go ahead and see how this looks. So this is kind of an ugly little chart here. And what I mean by that is just there's too many little pumps followed by some dumps that it's not really ideal trading for consistency, okay? So that's another reason why I kind of recommend sometimes swing trading and or holding on for longer periods of time. While it might take a couple weeks to get 75%, it's kind of okay to keep your position open and to not overtrade sometimes. If you're a day trader, that's okay. Don't get me wrong, a different story altogether, work within your risk tolerance. But when it comes to situations like this, I prefer to sit on the sidelines and kind of just let the plays unfold and kind of be patient in a sense, because you can overtrade sometimes. It can be difficult. That being said, let's take a look at some of the data here and kind of see. So we came up to an 8, we got this little reset. We were previously up to a 9. This is roughly what I think right around 17,100 is approximately when we opened our short position. And that position, by the way, is still in good shape because we were able to average out at 17.6 for I think 17,300 as our average. Okay, so the price Should likely come back down to that range, but if not, give it time. I think we'll be okay. That being said, though, if we take a look at the situation here, we can see it was overextended here, of course, and then the price continued higher. Consolidated, ranked up, consolidated again, and then shot up when CPI data came out. So there's not a lot of consistency here in that sense, like this shouldn't have happened based on technical standards, but again, fundamentals and preparation for that, it shot up really good. And again, pre-market opened right here, and obviously once the traditional market opened, it shot straight up from there. Okay, so again, that's kind of what led to this here, but let's see what else we can kind of disseminate here and see where we're at with the cloud, for example. So we are overextended once more, we've already identified that, but we are above the cloud, which is nice. Conversion line is above the baseline, and of course, lagging span is free and clear of price action. So at this point, if you have a long position open, the consensus would be to keep it open and not to close it completely. I would recommend taking profits if you haven't already. Take some at least, at the very least, something larger than 50%. So if you come back to your entry point, then you'll still walk away positive, right? So for me, I usually take 65 to 75% my first target. And then of course the rest is just I'll let it kind of hang out there and adjust my stop loss to break even. Different strategies, of course, but that is usually the way to stay profitable. And essentially that's what we're looking at. So with this here, overall consensus is that obviously it's showing us bullish signs. The thing we cannot anticipate is a fundamental catalyst tomorrow that will cause the price either to shoot up or shoot down. This kind of volatility is very common during CPI and or FOMC situations. So again, if you're part of my community, make sure you read our fundamental list there and brush up on those types of things that are happening, because it's important to understand what's going to occur here soon. That being said, is this going to sustain itself? Me personally, I don't think that it will, just based on how strong that NASDAQ is pulling back, honestly. And same thing with S&P. I mean, we saw a significant gap up, and it's been selling off ever since. So I think we should pay attention to how the traditional markets kind of close out today and kind of see, because it does kind of feel fairly ominous still to me, especially with all this stuff for tomorrow coming up. All right. So again, a lot of little schools of thought here, a lot of things that you could try to apply, but I think the key takeaway is that you want to be cautious and very, very careful in this kind of market, and that you might really want to just kind of consider hanging out and being patient, letting all this crazy nonsense stuff happen, and then of course take your trade when things are overextended. And we can absolutely say that 18,000 is an overextension, and that the price is going to pull back to at the very least 17.6. So what I'm going to be looking for today is closure either above or below 17,600. We close above 17.6, there's a decent chance it might sustain there. Again, that all matters very little if tomorrow's news is terrible. Okay, so FOMC comes out, we get an increase in basis points, we're going to see pretty much a downward shift here. We got to probably wait though, okay? All right, so spinning in circles there, just telling you that it's best to be patient, so I hope that you can take that away from this and that this made sense to you. Thanks again for joining me here. I look forward to working with you if you want to become a better trader. CryptoCash.tech is the site. Make sure you register for Bitget as well if you want to benefit from that $10,000 prize pool monthly. It's automatic, all right? Thanks again for your time. I look forward to seeing you next one. Take care.